Hey guys, what's up? It's Carson, and today we're going to talk about books. We are going to talk about the Medieval-A-Thon. It's a month-long readathon going on in July, run by Holly Hart's Books. I will leave the video of hers announcing the readathon down below, so go check it out, especially if you want to see all of the cute graphics that she made for all of the challenges. This is a month-long readathon. Like I said, it goes from July 1st to July 31st, so I'm posting this a little bit late, but that's okay. You can forgive me. It is a month-long readathon, so I feel like even if you start it a little bit late, you'll have time to catch up. If you're coming at this from a reading perspective and you haven't been on my channel before, I am a writer and I write medieval fiction. And I'm also a college student. I'm getting a medieval studies minor, and next year I'm applying to graduate programs for medieval studies. So this is what I do. I am so excited for this readathon. I think a lot of people are coming at it from the fantasy aspect, which is not necessarily what I do, but it's called Medieval-A-Thon. So it encompasses all of that, historical stuff and fantasy stuff. And I don't actually know that any of my choices were picked because of their relation to medieval stuff. I was mostly just fulfilling the prompts. But let's get into the prompts. So there is a ranking system for how many books you read, and it goes from 1 to 6, 6 being the highest, and 6 is a queen, which is obviously what I'm shooting for. I think I can read 6 books in the month. Normally I read a little bit more than that, so I think 6 will be fine, and then I will get the ranking of queen. But again, check out her video. She has little graphics and they'll show you all of the different rankings. I think one of them is peasant, squire, knight, and a couple other ones. Like I said, 1 through 6. We are aiming for queen, so I'm going to show you all of the books that I have on my personal TBR to fill the prompts that she provides. There are 6 prompts for clothing items to fulfill your medieval armor. The first prompt is a crown, and that is a book where somebody is fighting for the crown. And for this prompt, I'm going to be reading The Half-Drowned King by Linnea Hartziker. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that last name, but I know that it has to do with Vikings, which is my personal area of interest within medieval studies. And that's basically all I know. I know they're fighting for a crown because that's what I read in the synopsis, but I don't want to read too much into it because I think it will spoil me. The second clothing prompt, which I'm not exactly sure how this one and crown work together, but it's helmet, and I want them both. And the prompt to get your helmet in your medieval armor is a book with a dragon on the cover. And I'm going to be reading Aragon. So I will link his channel down below, but Dead Inside, another YouTuber, he reads books out loud to his friend, significant other. I think that they're together, and I adore them. I found them when they were reading Harry Potter, but they are reading this series, and he reads like an hour-long video, and then they talk about it, and they do recaps, and I don't know why I enjoy them so much, but I do, so I picked up this book specifically to read it along with them and to hear their commentary on it. So I'm going to be doing that this month with Aragon, and obviously there's a dragon on this cover. The third clothing prompt is a breastplate, and the book that you're reading to get your breastplate is something with a shiny cover. And I am choosing Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I don't know if you'll be able to see how shiny the gold foiling and the letters are on the cover, but it's even prettier when you take the dust jacket off. They have all of this beautiful gold and silver foiling on the spine too. It's gorgeous, and it is very shiny. This is a reread for me. I have already read it, but I'm just feeling like picking it back up again because when I did read it, I was super inspired to write. If you are a writer, you know that July is Camp NaNoWriMo, which I am participating in, so I figured it would be best for me to stack my TBR with books that make me inspired to write, considering I need to write like 50,000 words this month. It'll happen. I'm determined to make it happen. But anyway, this is what I'm gonna read for the shiny cover to get my breastplate. The fourth clothing prompt is leggings, and to get your leggings, you have to read a thick paperback. Thick is a very subjective term, but I think that everyone will agree with me when I say that Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson is a thick paperback. This baby is over 700 pages, so I definitely think it counts. I read the first book in this series, Mistborn, a pretty long time ago, and I'm really excited to get back into it. From what I can remember, I had a hard time reading all of these books. Well, not all of these books, Brandon Sanderson books, because he does a really great job of writing chapters to the point where it's easy to put it down and then find your place again, which is a good thing for big fantasy books. And if you listen to his podcast, Writing Excuses, which I do religiously every Monday, I will link them down below as well if you want to check them out. He has said in one of them that he specifically wraps his chapters up nicely because they are such big books. So it encourages people to put it down and come back to it. And they know they can do that, so it's not as intimidating. Like, you can read a little bit of it and come back and you'll still kind of know where you are. But to me, that just gives me an excuse to not read it or pick it back up again. So I'm determined to read this one this month, and I think I can do it if I just set aside the time and read it all at once, which seemed to work for me with Mistborn, the first book in this series. So this is what I'm reading to get my leggings. The next clothing item is your boots. And to get your boots, you need to read a book that has yellowed over time. Like the edges are yellowed. I'm explaining this to you, and I'm going to show you a book that has yellowed over time. So I'm just being redundant. Anyway, what I am reading to get my boots is King Harold's Saga, and it has this lovely orange price sticker on it, but this is an Icelandic saga about Vikings, about a Danish king, I believe, King Harold, and I'm a little bit into it. It's really, really tiny. I like to read sagas. It's part of what I do. I write historical fiction about Vikings, and I study Vikings in school, so this is just light reading for me, but it is an older copy, and as you can see, it has 100% yellowed over time, so this is gonna get me my boots if I complete it this month. And then the last clothing item is cape, and that is something with red on the dust jacket, to have that little pun with cape and dust jacket, or on the cover. So I'm gonna read My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Frederick Bachman. And if you look really closely, the dog's scarf is red, and that's why I'm counting it. I am in a book club with some members of my family, and I pitched this book for this month. I've already read it. It's one of my absolute favorite books. If you've never read Frederick Bachman, please pick up some of his stuff. I've read every single book that he's published, and I love every single one of them, but this one is my favorite. So I need to reread it before July 10th, which is when the book club is meeting. And I figured if I have to reread it already, why not make it count for one of the prompts for this readathon? So this is my red on the cover, and it's gonna get me a super awesome cape to complete my medieval attire. So then, because Holly Hearts Books is so awesome and she wanted to make even more fun prompts for us to do, she has made some prompts for weapons, to pick your weapons. I had a really hard time finding books for the weapons because they have very specific prompts that are dictated by what is inside the book, like something that's going to happen in the book, not just on the cover, which is kind of harder to do without spoiling yourself. So I have 2 books for 2 of the weapons. I'm going to be trying to get my sword and my daggers but the other two weapons, bow and battle axe, if I end up reading something with elements that complete those prompts, then I'm just gonna collect all of the weapons because I have a collector personality, and honestly, it's killing me just a little bit inside that I don't even have books for them because I want to have them all. I want to have all of the prompts finished for this readathon. But I have books for two of the prompts, like I said, sword and dagger. The prompt for getting your sword is a book with something pointy on the cover. And the book that I'm going to be reading, well, rereading for this prompt is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. And you know, there's some pointy things. There's like a little hydra thing up here, and I'm sure it's got teeth, and then there's little castles up here, if you can see the little castles. Oh my god, focus. You can see the little castles are pointy, so you know what? We're counting it. And then the final prompt that I will be completing is daggers, and to get your daggers you have to read a book with assassins in it. And so I am going to be reading The Murder Complex by Lindsay Cummings. I'm really excited to read this because I follow Lindsay on Instagram and I love seeing all of her things, all of her writing updates, especially because she's working on a new project, which I'm pretty sure she just calls like secret YA novel. We don't really know anything about it yet, but I'm really excited to read her first book that she published and see what it's all about. So yeah, those are the books that I'm going to be reading for the Medieval-A-Thon. Let me know down below if you are going to be completing the prompts for the Medieval-A-Thon, or if you feel like you can fit your books in your TBR into this prompt. Also, let me know one fact that you know about medieval history, if you know anything about medieval history. I'm really curious what people know about this time period because it's something I study, and I think there's like 4 of us that study it at my university, so I would be really interested in you guys letting me know one random thing that you remember learning about medieval history. And I'm going to update you guys at the end of the month on how I did with this readathon. So I'll see you guys all later. Bye!